Welcome everyone to my channel. It is a truck driving channel, not a gaming channel. But I have no content to show you as a truck driver at this point. I do, however, have this game that I would like to share, and it's not like it's an unheard of game. It's very popular, especially currently because of the remake that has just released a couple of weeks ago as of this date. And I've always been a fan of Silent Hill. I actually played Silent Hill 1 back in March of 1999 when it first released. It was actually a kind of birthday thing. My birthday was that month, and my brother-in-law at the time worked at Blockbuster Video, and he brought the game home for me to play and try out. After spending quite a bit of time looking at the title and the art in the game book, I was pretty intrigued. It all felt very mysterious to me, but there was something about it that just caught my attention and really made me want to try it out. When I realized how scary it was as a 14-year-old and not having really played anything on that level, the only thing that I could have played back then that would have compared to Silent Hill would have been like Resident Evil 2, maybe Resident Evil 3. And so I was very intrigued by the game, but I also felt that I was too scared to play it. So I actually had to play it with my brother-in-law and my sister at the time just to get through the game. But the thing about Silent Hill that really intrigued me was the emotions that I felt as I played the game, especially as a younger person. Now, obviously, according to the ESRB, I was too young to be playing the game whenever I played it. However, it really did intrigue me because it's so scary, especially if you're not used to, horror on that level. And at the time, there really were no other games that compared to it. So I'm just saying this to tell you guys that I've always been a fan of Silent Hill since it first came out, and I was a teenager, tried it, liked it a lot, liked it so much that I quickly became obsessed with it. And I think there's something about the level of fear and the emotions that it makes you feel, according to the psychological aspect of the horror itself, to where either one of two things will happen. Either you're going to just be completely repulsed by it and not want the game, a copy of it, anywhere near you, and you don't ever want to hear about it again, or you're going to be so intrigued by the level of the emotion of fear that you feel by playing the game that you're intrigued and you have to know more. You have to know more. There's something about certitude in exploring these Silent Hill titles. When I say that, I mean like the first 4, nothing really after that, and definitely not the movies. Okay, I wouldn't recommend, if you're going to experience Silent Hill, the actual franchise, I would recommend the first 4 games, specifically the first game, the third game, and this game itself. If you really want to experience what Silent Hill is and what made it so big, play these first 3 games. And so I even recommend doing it in that order, because I think the first game should follow up with the third game, and then you've also got the second one here, which is just standalone by itself a really good game. But it's also important to know what Silent Hill is, or at least get kind of an idea of what it represents, because that's what actually makes this game work, even though it's really not too relatable to the first or third titles in the series. And so with that being said, I want to do something it's kind of gonna be like a walkthrough, playthrough kind of thing, but it's gonna be a little bit more than that. It's gonna be kind of leaning toward that more of an analysis or lore run kind of thing, as well as I would just sum it all up like this. It's a project. That's what I want to work on. Can't show you any of my truck driving adventures at the moment, so I'm going to work on this, what I will call the Silent Hill 2 project. Now, because the remake just released and I did spend $80 on a copy of it, I want to do something that maybe other people have thought about doing. Maybe they'll beat me to it even, because I am a truck driver and I'm a very busy guy, so I'm constantly working. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to work on this, but I really want to put this together and put it on this channel simply because I'm such a big fan of the series. So what I will call it is a project, and basically what I want to do is get into the original game, which is what you're watching right now. This is the title FMV sequence for the original game, okay, as well as the remake. I want to dive headfirst into both games and kind of play through them, but I want to do it in maybe a different kind of way. And my whole approach to this is kind of a comparison thing. Now, this isn't going to be a graphical comparison. Sure, that'll fall into it, but it's going to be more like a side-by-side kind of comparison as far as just comparing every aspect of both of the games. So we're going to look into what made the original game so good and still qualifies it as the best horror game ever made, in my opinion. And that's another thing, guys. All of this right here, this whole project, you should consider it as being subjective. It's all based on my opinion, and really that's all it is. So I might overlook things that other people know about, and I might also, my goal is to get you guys to think, even if you are a hardcore Silent Hill fan and you have been for a considerable time. My goal is to really talk about things that maybe some people haven't talked about, or maybe you'll hear things throughout this project that you've never heard before. And I know that when I heard these things, because I did hear them, don't think that I'm smart enough to come up with this kind of stuff on my own. I came up with some of it, kind of pieced some of it together myself, but a lot of it I've heard from the Silent Hill community, and it really got me thinking, and it really just, overall, in the end, it made me appreciate the series even more than I already did. And that's really what I want you guys to experience. So I am going to end the intro here, long, timely intro, and we're going to get started on part 1 of Silent Hill 2. I'm going to play through the original game up until I get to the apartments, and then I will switch over to the remake and we will play up until we get to the apartments. And that's how I want to do it. I'm going to stop here, stop there, break things down, share things with you, information, things I've learned, things I've discovered. Hope you guys are excited. Let's get started on this. Thanks for watching. Okay, guys. Hope you're ready, because here we go. I'm going to do this the way that the developers actually said they intended it to be done. I'm going to go normal action, normal riddle. Nice depth of field, rack focus shot right there.
Mary, Could you really be in this town?
Okay. Again, just to kind of show you guys the level of analysis we're going to cover in this project, imagine getting your magnifying glass out and just taking a really good look at the detail. And you guys got to remember that this game came out in 2001. So here's something that I'm sure everybody has considered: how detailed this game actually is. So the first thing I'm going to say is the mirror shot here, just looking over James's shoulder. Well, that's pretty impressive for a PS2 game. I mean, there's like modern games out there that can't even get mirrors down this well. All right, now the next thing I'm going to say is that it's significant how we're starting out this game. What is James doing? He's looking into a mirror. He is self-reflecting. Okay? So if you actually look up the definition of self-reflecting or self-reflection, let's do that real quick. So what I've got here is the definition for self-reflection, and it says meditation or serious thought about one's character, actions, and motives. So that's what I believe James is doing here. All right, so this is clearly the room that we start out in. This is a men's room, and I always heard that this is like a rest area, which it kind of makes sense, especially, you know, me being a truck driver. I'm definitely familiar with rest areas. So we're going to go outside in just a second and take a look around, but before we do, let's take a look at the level of detail in this particular room that you start out in the game. This was a big deal. This was like one of the first things that anybody saw when they heard about Silent Hill 2 becoming a thing, you know, when it was still in development back in, you know, the early 2000s. So we've got graffiti on the walls. We've got what looks like Hebrew there. I've actually heard somebody say before that this little caricature on the wall here, it's kind of an homage to, if you guys played Silent Hill 1, the sketchbook that Harry finds. It's Cheryl's sketchbook, and on the front of it she drew a picture of Harry, and the head was kind of cartoony like that. It was kind of elongated, and it just looked kind of weird. So this looks pretty similar to actually the drawing that Cheryl did of her daddy Harry in that game. We've also got very clearly Hebrew words written on the wall. Now all of these are actual Hebrew words, and I can't remember what they actually translate to in English. But here's the thing about this that I want to say, like, this game is so highly detailed that it will actually cause some people to want to look into it at this kind of a depth. But I will say that doing so can be kind of negligible, because if you look too far into a lot of this stuff, you can actually overlook the main themes of the game. It is a very cryptic game in some ways, but there is a limit that I would draw the line where I would say if you look too far into a lot of this stuff, especially stuff like this, you might be going overboard, and it might cause you to overlook what really matters. So I think they did this just for the appeal of realism, and they put all this graffiti and stuff on the walls for that reason. And it probably does have some kind of flavor to it where it might put you in some kind of, you know, state of mind subconsciously, and maybe even manipulate you on that kind of a level, because this game is known to do that. And that's kind of the whole style behind the way that they did things when they designed these games. This right here, I've actually heard that this is from the book of Genesis, that it pertains to, the creation story, when God created Adam and Eve, and it says something along the lines of the hands fashioned, and you can't really read anything else besides that except for under there it says thou. So there's kind of some biblical style writing there from the King James, I guess. And you're just supposed to glance at that, I think, and it might actually trigger some kind of thought of like the King James Bible or something like that. And that's kind of why they put that there, maybe to trigger some kind of thoughts, like some kind of higher deity or higher power, like you're being watched or something like that. Again, I've also heard that about the Hebrew words, that there are actually some names, particular names, that have to do with deity right there. I can't really read any of that or what that says. It almost looks like it says, I am delaying some other word and then that. I am delaying that. I think I'm delaying, by doing this, I'm delaying this project. So maybe we should move on. But yes, you can really appreciate the level of detail that's going on in this room here. There's even rust on the drain, like the urinal drains. You can see rust. The little specific plumbing pieces that make up the flush drain on the urinals. That's pretty crazy. Okay, and then on this wall, you've actually got posters that say Heaven's Night, and there's clearly a picture of Maria there. So that's kind of foreshadowing to what's going to come later in the game. And it's pretty interesting how it's in the men's room. It's like an advertisement for a strip joint in the men's room. Pretty typical, if you ask me.
In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
This music would sound so much better if it was an electric guitar playing it.
The name on the envelope.
Just kidding.
Said, Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A dead person can't write a letter. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Does she mean the park on the lake? We spent the whole day there. Just the two of us, staring at the water. Could Mary really be there? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
Okay, so there we go, the first cutscene of the game, and clearly we know a little bit more about what's going on. In fact, if we open up the inventory, we'll see that we do have, in fact, a letter from Mary, James's wife. That's definitely Mary's name in her own handwriting on the front of the envelope. So you can open this up and look at it. Okay, so real quick, going back to the self-reflection, I will say that the self-examination or the self-reflecting aspect of it is pretty important even here. If you know how the story goes, if you played the game before, which by the way, I will mention right quick that this is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't played this game before, then I recommend just looking up on YouTube. If you want to watch somebody else play through it, watch somebody play it that has never played it before, okay? And then come back and check out these videos. Because I have to spoil things. I've tried to do this a few different times. Actually do a playthrough of this game. Even before, like way back before I even knew that they were going to make a remake for the game. And it just doesn't work out well whenever I try to avoid doing any or sharing any information about the game. So okay, so I'm not going to try to spare you from spoilers. So I would recommend watching somebody else play it if you've never seen it or played it before. All right, so we can infer here that this is James's car that he drove into town, and we've got a map in the front seat. Which we can open up and take a look at. We see that we're over there in the southeast corner of the map. And, well, there's an underline under Rosewater Park, which he briefly mentioned in the previous cutscene. So that would be the park by the lake. And so that's, initially, that's what you're under the impression of that you're going to try to get to. Now, it looks like it's a pretty straight shot, but this is Silent Hill we're talking about here. Okay, so we have that. One thing I'll say about the car is... Excuse me while I'm just getting readjusted to the tank controls. I've heard many things about the car and about Mary and how she must be in the car. I've heard that she's in the front seat, the back seat, the trunk. Well, it's interesting that he says there's nothing in or nothing on the passenger seat right here, but it really makes you wonder. But then, like, we just grabbed the map, and he was telling the truth. There is nothing on the passenger seat. I think the trunk thing is BS because I don't believe he would do that. But then the back seat thing, I've actually heard different things about that. Like, it could be a possibility. I mean, it would make sense if you know about some of the particular endings of the game itself. Okay, so I'm briefly looking over the layout, the shape of the map right here in this area in particular. Got a road sign mentioning Paleville County. Apparently Paleville is a county. Okay, and then we've got this way. And he says, this is the road I came in on. There's no point in going back. So that's not an option. I like the camera right here, how it goes behind the fence. That's a pretty cool touch. Okay, so now we're quickly realizing that we're not going to be able to get back in the car and just take the road and drive on it over to Rosewater Park. It's not that kind of game. Now, I am playing on an emulated version of the original PS2 game, and if you guys might notice right here, the road sign, which was for a while there, it was a pretty big topic of addressing. The numbers on the road sign, they seem like they might not quite be accurate, especially after looking at the map itself. Which, another interesting thing to point out about the map is if you zoom out, you'll see Paleville right there, and it says that it's 10 miles away, okay? And then it says Old Silent Hill 50 miles away. And Brams is 265 miles away. So that city right there, Brams, it should sound familiar if you know the first game. Because you know that Sybil, one of the characters from the first game, mentions that she is an officer from Brams. Well, this sign is saying that it's 265 miles away, but if you remember what she said in the first game, she said Brams is the next town over from Silent Hill. Okay, which, looking at this, it would kind of make it seem like Paleville would be a town that is perhaps on our side of Silent Hill. If you look at the map and you look at where it says Paleville, it's across Toluca Lake. Now, it could be that Silent Hill is a city and it's in the county of Paleville. Maybe this green... Oops. Let's try that again. Let me try to zoom out. Okay, the main map here. We've actually got 3 maps all together. It's all the same area, but we've got this big zoomed out map, and then we've got a map of the east side, which would be the red box there, and then we have a map of the west side is the blue box. Maybe the green text where it says Paleville right next to it, where it says Silent Hill on the top, it is Silent Hill. I mean, it says it right there that this is Silent Hill, right? Maybe Paleville is a county and Silent Hill is the city inside of the county. But then if you look down, it says South Vale. So I don't know if that's a separate county, like Silent Hill, it's in both counties, or these are just neighborhoods within the city. They're like districts of Silent Hill. And that could be the case, because if you go back to the original game, you've actually got 2 separate maps in that game of the city. And there's like the old district, and then there's like, I think it's the commercial district where Alchemilla Hospital is, and the shopping mall and all that stuff, which would actually be northeast. If you're looking at this map up there where it says Lakeside Amusement Park, the old town part of Silent Hill is north of where it says Sanford Street right there. So that whole area right there at the very top of this map, we're familiar with if we played Silent Hill 1. We know where we are. We can get a really good idea about where James is. So this south side, all below Toluca Lake, is a new area. If you had played Silent Hill 1 and you're just now playing Silent Hill 2, you realize that this is just a new area that we haven't been in before. So sorry for breaking all this down so much, but I'd warned you guys this is what we're going to do in here, in this project. And I really appreciate maps. Being a truck driver, I could stare at maps for hours. That's just the kind of person I am. But it's just interesting to get an idea on the layout. And then going back to the road sign right there, we know that something's not quite right. And this is my point. If Paleville is 10 miles away and Old Silent Hill, I just told you guys, it's right above that area of Lakeside Amusement Park. It's like you keep going up that road. What's the road called? It doesn't say. But that road up there, right in the center at the top, to the right of where it says Lakeside Amusement Park. You go up that road, or you come over here and you go up that road. You're in Old Silent Hill. So something's not quite right. It can't be 50 miles away. So what's going on? Could it be that the developers, you know, being from Japan, not going by the imperial system of measurement, could it be that they made a mistake? Well, maybe. I mean, the people that created Silent Hill HD collection that redid or remastered this game seem to think that the original developers made a mistake. So they actually changed that sign. They changed the numbers on it, which actually pissed a lot of people off. And there's a reason why it did. It's because this actually has meaning in it. Something as small as a road sign has meaning in it. So if we know that, you know, according to reality, there's no way Old Silent Hill could be 50 miles away. It's just not that far. Maybe the developers did that on purpose. If they did it on purpose, then what was their reasoning? What was their motive for doing that? Maybe to throw you off. Maybe to make you feel tiny. You know, maybe to make you feel isolated, or make you feel like you're about to have to trek a very long way on foot because you can't get through on the road. It's all closed off. So this is another way that they can infer or kind of oppress you with those feelings of isolation, fear, dread. It's at the very beginning of the game, but this is how they start to build things up. So I just wanted to point that out there and actually point out that that road sign it's pretty important, in my opinion. It's not like the most important thing, but if you are fascinated by, you know, just small, subtle details, then it's one that should stand out to most people. We've also got a van here. And, well, I've heard it said that right there, that's actually Eddie's van. Why do people think that? Because if you watch the opening FMV from the title screen, you'll see Eddie sitting or standing right outside of a van that looks just like that. And then also you've got this sign up here that says Pete's Bolorama, which we know we're going to run into Eddie in that location later on in the game. I always thought that this sign was cool. I mean, this one really just stuck in my head the first time I ever played this game, with the finger pointing toward Toluca Lake. So my first impression was like, oh, I remember hearing about Toluca Lake from the first game. So this is really cool. Must be headed in the right direction, right? We notice as we come into this new area, the first thing we notice is like this atmospherical sound. I really hope that this is picking up on the video. In fact, let me try something real quick. Okay, so now we got that atmospherical sound going on in the background. Should be able to hear it a little bit better. I remember one of my first impressions, the first time I played this game, was like, okay, he's like off the road. He's on a trail. He's going into the woods. We didn't do that in the first game. But you can hear this thing in the woods. So you heard that. It sounds like there's something lurking in the woods right off of the trail that we're standing on. It sounds close. It sounds hungry. By the way, I apologize for the pixelated fog here. I'm not quite sure how to fix that. I need to be playing this on the enhanced PC version, but my PC's not set up for that. But as we walk down this trail, this thing is clearly tracking us. What is it? Is it a monster? Is it Sasquatch? It kind of sounds like something big and hungry, like it might want to eat us or something. It's pretty ominous, it's pretty intimidating. It sounds almost like it's getting closer as you make your way down the trail. And that music is kind of changing a little bit. It's kind of picking up the pace. It's changing just a little bit. It's getting more atmospheric. And that droning, cerebral sound right in your ears. I mean, it's building up this formula of dread where it just feels like there's something looming nearby in the fog you can't see. I mean, the fog is so thick you can't see what's out there, but it almost feels like it's staring at you. And the feeling is so intense that, like I said, it doesn't feel like it's staring at James, it feels like it's staring at you through the screen. You know, it's an intense feeling. It's like, oh my God, what am I walking into? There's something in the well. What's that? Looking at this makes me feel like someone's groping around inside my skull. It gives me a weird feeling. Well, we're already feeling weird. So we all know this is how you save your game. Okay, but notice on the save screen itself, what do we see? We see James. And he's just staring into our soul. But what is that? Honestly, if this was the first time you played this and you saw the background of the save screen or whatever, and you see James, his face like that close up, what does that remind you of? What does it remind me of? It reminds me of the previous scene where he's staring into the mirror, self-reflection, right? That's what this reminds me of. Well, how does that associate with the save screen and the load screen? Well, saving your game, loading your game, it's all about memory, right? It's a memory card. It says it up there, memory card slot 1. So maybe the game is trying to tell you something subtly. Without words, it's trying to tell you something right here. It's something as simple as a save screen. Self-reflection, memory. Well, the thing about saving your game is that you save your game at specific points, right? Especially with this game, you have to save your game at specific points. The game doesn't save for you, and you can't save at any point. You save at specific points when there's a save possible. Okay? So what you're doing is you're saving certain points or certain memories so that you can come back and load them, right? So you can come back and remember where you are. You can remember certain details. Well, that's kind of what this whole game is about. It's about memory. It's about recognizing. And that's what happens when you self-reflect, right? It's just something I wanted to point out. There's no filler in this game. It's all, like, everything in this game is connected, and it all has like a deep meaning to it. And it all kind of has the same theme. Like, everything's connected. There's no pointless filler here or pointless filler there. So let's look at the map again. Find out, okay, we made it to this big wide open area through the gate. There's a person right there staring at a gravestone.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah. I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But
Yes?
I think you'd better stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Is it dangerous?
maybe. And it's not just the fog either.
Okay,
It's...
I got it. I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
No, I believe you. It's just... I guess I really don't care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going to town either way.
But why?
I'm looking for someone.
Who is it?
Someone very important to me. I'd do anything if I could be with her again.
Me too. I'm looking for my mama. I mean my mother. It's been so long since I've seen her. I thought my father and brother were here, but I can't find them either. I'm sorry. It's not your problem.
I hope you find them.
Yeah, you too.
Alright, so we've ran into this young woman here. Says she's looking for her family. So that's something to take note of. I mean, we're looking for somebody. We're looking for our wife. She's looking for, she said, her mother firstly, and her father and brother. She said she thought they were here. Now, does she mean she thought they were like here in Silent Hill, or did she thought they were here in this cemetery buried? So that's one of the things that you start to wonder about, is like, are they dead? Because the person we're looking for is dead. So is her family dead, and that's why she's looking for him in the cemetery, or what's up with that? Now you can actually go back up to her and say something else.
Aren't you looking for someone?
That's right.
So she's not going to say anything else to us, but that right there, like, if you didn't do that, then you might not get the impression that she kind of just wants to be left alone. But yeah, the fog, right offhand, it's something that they're both experiencing simultaneously, so there's some symbolism with the fog for sure, and we'll get more into that in a minute. But Yeah, if you played this before, you know about Angela, you know all about her. I won't get into any of that at the moment, but just to point out that, you know, I think the most important thing about this scene is that she's looking for her family, but she's looking for them in a cemetery. So there's some kind of connotation there that's pretty important to understand the story. And I don't ever remember which way to go when I come into the cemetery because the fog is so thick. And I know it's gotta look horrible in the video. I'm gonna see if I can fix that when we come back to it. My game's also kind of freezing up on me here and there. But oh yeah, this building right here, I wanted to point it out. This is like a chapel or a small church right here in the cemetery. Just want to get a good visual of the textures, the 3D models, how everything's laid out. There's an old wheelbarrow right there. And so now I know that I said I was going to go up to the apartments, to the point of the apartments, but because there's a save spot back behind us and we've spent so much time in the original version of the game, I think I'm going to jump forward and do up to this part in the remake. That way we're not spacing it out too far apart. There's a lot to take in from both games up to this point, so I don't want to try to squeeze too much in there. Otherwise, it might not be as good of an examination as I want it to be. So let's just take it in baby steps, you know, take it in small stride and just analyze everything as we see it. So let's go to the new game and see what it looks like up to this point. Okay guys, welcome back. Welcome to my living room and welcome to Silent Hill 2 Remake. And we're literally just gonna jump right into it, but there's something really cool about, I feel like I'm morphing ahead 23 years because I literally am. You know, that's the amount of time that has passed from the original to the remake. So let's go ahead and get straight into things. I'm gonna start a new game, take it off of New Game Plus and put it on default. Keep it on standard combat and standard puzzles. That's the same way it's set up in the original game. And we're gonna start things off. Here we go. I like how they opened it up with that camera angle. He has an extreme 5 o'clock shadow going on. And notice the hands. The hands are very important. And what do we have? Self-reflecting. There's that familiar camera angle.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
It's so cool to see all of this with these really good graphics. It's amazing.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Could Mary really be here? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
And we're just straight into gameplay, like no change at all. I mean, the gameplay looks just like the FMV. First major thing I've noticed that's different is that he came out of the restroom on his own in the cutscene. So we're already out here now. So that was one of the first things I wanted to know. Well, can you go back into the bathroom? You sure can. So let's check everything out in here. Check the mirror out. Do a little bit more self-reflecting. So they did good. You know, the mirror is... It looks good. I mean, it definitely looks more detailed too. Like the surface of the mirror, it might be smeared, dirty, gringy. Is that even a word? I meant to say dingy. Okay, but we've got the writing on the wall. I'm just trying to remember what I saw in the original game a few minutes ago. It still says decayed right there. You can actually read it a little bit better here. It says I am decay. It almost looks like it says decayo. Armini that? Interesting. There's some kind of writing on the wall here. This is in 4K, so let me check real quick. It looks like it is, the graphics are crisp enough that I could possibly read that, but the handwriting is like that really fancy cursive kind of writing, so I can't really read the handwriting, but if it was in like basic print, I'd probably be able to read that. I'm noticing a little bit of a difference with some of the designs and stuff with the graffiti on the walls. But this is maybe clearer right here. The hands fashioned and man, maybe that's what that says. Thou, now, man, I don't know. But I mean, it's all here, just like in the original game. There's some more writing right there. Let's see. Those are definitely words. I'm just not skilled enough to know what they actually say. It's very fancy handwriting. but I'm not really sure what that says. But so much detail. I mean, you still got the same style toilets with the gravity tanks on them. You can actually see pull chains on the toilets. That is really cool. I mean, they definitely put some time and effort into this, down to the last detail. It is like spot on in this restroom. There's the art on the wall, the homage to Harry in the sketchbook from Silent Hill 1. I'm just gonna go with that. Not saying I'm accurate, but that's what it reminds me of. Looks like it says $8.99 on the dude's pants on the wall. You guys see that? Okay, but you still have all the Hebrew script there. And everything, it feels like the exact same room. It just feels much, much, much more real. In fact, I will say before we even go back outside that the first time I got the opportunity to play the remake and started out right here as I was making my way back outside, which by the way, there's still the poster of Maria Heaven's Night. It's there. It's hard to see, but it is still there. We need a flashlight, but we don't have that yet. Yeah, guys, it's all there. But, you know, my first time playing the game, coming out here, seeing how good the graphics were, how detailed everything is, it did something crazy to my head. It felt like something was groping around in my skull now. But it did. It kind of felt crazy. It was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I imagined the first time I played the original game when I was, 16 back in 2001 and the game came out. And, back then, the graphics from the original game were really good, but not this good. But this is kind of like what I experienced in my head because, you had the graphics, like I said, they were cutting edge back then, not so much now. But back then, you didn't really need the graphics. The game was so powerful that you just kind of took it all in, and then your brain kind of connected the dots or filled in the gaps to make it even more immersive and real, seemingly real. And when I saw all this, I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly how I imagined this place to look in real life. There was something crazy. It was just like a connection moment for me. And it brought me back to the very first time I've ever played this game, because I played this game a billion freaking times. And after you play it so many times, it's just no big deal. I mean, you don't really think about it that much anymore. But when I played this, it just took me back. It was a really awesome feeling. So we've got new stuff like these papers that are stuck to the telephone pole. They're actually moving in the wind. Awesome animation there. It's also raining. You guys noticed. You could see it better in the cutscene, but there was actually rain coming down. You could see it falling into the rain puddles. Maybe it stopped. I don't think you could come back here. Or maybe you could come back here, but you couldn't walk all the way around this building in the original. You've got some dumpsters right here. And then just like in the original game, you can head this way. Now the camera is different. So in the original game, you couldn't actually see down this road like you can right here. You keep going, he's gonna stop and turn around. And if it's your first time playing the game, you'll actually get an achievement trophy for doing that. But this is cool because you couldn't see anything from this camera angle this free movement camera angle from the original game. You couldn't see any of this stuff. Because remember, I walked over here and I even pointed it out, it's cool how the camera is behind the fence. Well, now you can just see everything from over his shoulder. And you can see all the detail in all of this, which is really incredible. It was an awesome feeling the first time I experienced this. Now everything else seems pretty spot on, pretty accurate to the original. Even the sign, the L that fell down and the E, it's all the same. But here's something that's funny. The road sign, if you guys notice, everything is the same as the original game except for Bram's, and it does still say 265, but if you notice, the sign is like purposely damaged right there, maybe rusted, so it's not obvious that it says 265, but it does still say 265. Maybe they did that to not be biased with arguments, because I think, like I was saying before, it caused some dispute within the Silent Hill community, especially when the HD collection changed it and made it a shorter distance. Well, they just kind of marked it out right here so that people, they kind of made it to where they were unbiased. So where they were saying, well, we can't really take any side on this. We're not going to take anybody's side on the road sign to distinguish whether or not the original developers, Team Silent, were doing that on purpose or if they made a mistake with the distance. So I just think that's interesting to point out. Now, these developers, Bloober Team, they actually went to the level of depth and detail to think about stuff like that, which I think is pretty incredible. So I'm going to run over here real quick. The map is in the car. You can actually see a lot more now. You can actually see in the back seat of the car now. So I know that's one of the first things people were going to look at is Mary in the back seat. Now that we can actually see in the back of the car. Here's the map. If you notice, you can no longer see the top side of the shore of Toluca Lake. That's all gone. They took all that out. And this is just one map of South Vale. So before, when we got the map out of his car, we actually got 3 maps. I broke it down for you. Well, now we only have this one, and it's like a zoomed out view. More fixating on the rest area with the observation deck and the graveyard and Silent Hill Ranch, which we haven't made it that far yet in the original game. So there you go. One thing it does in the new game is, if you notice right there, he actually crossed out on the road that he can't go in either one of those directions, and that doesn't happen in the original game. So that's interesting. That's one difference. Now, as far as the back seat goes, there is a blanket back there. And I think they were more objectionable about that too, just like the road sign. There is a blanket in his back seat covering something up. It doesn't necessarily look like a body, not necessarily, but it looks like maybe it could possibly be a body. but there's no way of really noticing it. If it is a body, it's not like obvious that it's a body. It's just one of those things where they leave it up to your interpretation. Well, is there a body back there? There might be, but it's not obvious. And they did that for the sake of people that have never played the game before. So I actually appreciate how they did that. They know, like, okay, if you played the game before, this is going to be one of the first things you look for. Is there a body in the back seat? Most people thought that the body was in the trunk, but like I said, and I think maybe even Masahiro Ito said, that's one of the developers from the original game, he said that putting a body in the trunk is not corresponding, it doesn't go in line with Japanese culture. So, you know, the original development team was Japanese. They said if anything, the body would have been in the back seat. That was like a famous line. It was either Sato or Ito that said that. I can't remember which one. But there you go. A lot of people know that. A lot of people know that the body would be in the back seat. If it's anywhere, that's the one place that it would be. Because again, we know it's not in the front seat. So, yeah. It's just interesting to look at this stuff. I hope you guys are enjoying this. And as we can see, Eddie's van's parked in the same place. And we've got our Toluca Lake sign. This time it's much more detailed. You can't actually see the hand pointing this time. So that's a little bit of a subtle change. We come down here and things are slightly different. We've got a picnic table here now and a garbage can. But these are things that people like me are going to appreciate as soon as we start the game and we see how highly detailed it is. It's amazing, guys. It's so realistic. It finally feels like a real place. Like before, you play the original game and it feels like a real place, but it's all in your head. It's all cognitive. But this right here, this actually feels like it could be a real place. Like this place actually does exist. Where does it exist, though? And we're going to get into that later on. Where is Silent Hill? Because there seems to be a big debate about that, too. And I love how there's a drop-off right here, just like in the original game, but it's so detailed now that you can actually see down there. It's incredible. The fact that you can look in every direction now, there's something about it that's just so satisfying. If you played the original game, if you played it a million times like I have, there's something about being able to do this that's just so satisfying. It's like, man, I've been waiting 23 years to really get a good look at this place. This is the first time I'm able to do that, and I love it. Now, remember all the ambient atmospheric sound that was happening in the original game. It's doing that here, but it's slightly different. And it feels slightly different. Doesn't feel quite as intense as it does in the original game. Like, this sound is nice. It's a good sound design. It sounds good. It sounds kind of suspenseful, maybe a little bit eerie, but not as intensely eerie or ominous as the original game, in my opinion. So that's one thing that I'll point out, one of the first things that I'll say about it. Well, there's something up there on that cliff. I don't know, that could be a tree stump, but it almost looks like a cross made out of sticks or something. I love how you can even hear like the buzzing of insects and stuff. It's really nice to play this with headphones on. You can hear small rocks falling off the side of the cliff. Okay. I just heard that thing in the woods for the first time. It sounds a little bit different. It does seem to be picking up a little bit as I make my way down the path. It's like slightly picking up. Almost like a build-up. This game is designed on the Unreal 5 engine, and the original Silent Hill 2 was actually designed and made on its own engine. Like, they designed a whole game engine for the game itself. Whereas they design lots of games on Unreal 5. We still got the same well here. Oh, but the red square, it's not down in the well this time, it's floating on the surface. Okay, and the save screen is different, slightly. Let's talk about this for a second. It's still pointed at James's face, but it's not as intense as the original game. Like, he is kind of staring. He's staring at the red square. He's not looking at us, but he's looking at the red square, and you can see in the background that, like, this is where we're standing right now, right by the well. You can see the woods behind him. So not quite as obvious as the original game and the stuff I was talking about earlier. Not quite as obvious.
It's like someone's groping around my skull.
He does make that same statement. Look at the church this time.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I was just...
Hey, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But... I think you should stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. And it's not just the fog, either.
Is it dangerous?
Maybe. It's kind of hard to explain, but...
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
No, I believe you. It's just... I guess I don't really care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going either way.
But why?
I'm looking for... someone. Someone very important to me.
Me too. I'm looking for my mama. I mean, my mother. It's been so long since I've seen her. I thought my father and brother were here, but I can't find them either. I'm sorry, it's not your problem.
No, I hope you find them.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, gotta talk about this real quick. There's something about this version of Angela that feels very different. Not only does she look different, she looks a lot different than she does in the original game. But there's something about her that just feels different. Her voice, I know it's a different voice actor, but not just that, it's like the line delivery. And this is going to be a key theme in this whole project because I think they made some changes, and you know, they may have enhanced a lot of things with the game, but there are a few things that I feel like by making changes from the original, it was detrimental to the storyline. Okay, and Angela is one of the key things that, you know, I think that way about. Now, I will say that their dialogue, the conversation, the interaction, it all feels very realistic. It does. But there are things like line delivery and stuff like that that I feel like are missing. They're in the original game, but they're not in this game. And that kind of upsets me a little bit. Because, guys, remember how much of a fan I told you I am of this. Like, you know how people are like really into Star Wars and stuff like that? Well, this is like my Star Wars. So if they make a change like that, yeah, it upsets me a little bit. And I think maybe it's because there's some kind of lack of understanding that they have towards certain things. So they didn't elaborate on it as much as they could have or even should have in the remake. So these are some of the things that I want to point out. I don't want to fixate on it completely. This is just one of the key things that I want to point out. Now we can go back up to her and keep talking just like we could in the original game.
Did you want anything else?
No, it's just this fog. Does it seem unsettling to you?
I guess.
Well, see, I feel like some people would argue right there that that's not even necessary for him to say that. But I guess for people that have never played it before, it kind of adds a little bit more of flavor into, you know, just thinking about things. But instead of thinking that on your own, the game is just kind of giving it to you, saying, hey, here you go. In case you haven't thought about why the fog is so damn thick, here's a line that will make you, it'll like trigger that thought for you.
It's just through the gate and down the path. You'll get there in no time.
Which she does still, I don't know if she says anything after that. Let's see.
Good luck finding the one you're looking for.
Yeah, I should probably get going.
Okay, that's all you can say. Yeah, so this is one of the things I'm going to talk about during this project, is just stuff like that. Now, if you guys notice in the original game, when he says he's kind of lost, she's like,
Lost?
and in this game, she's like,
Lost?
so the line delivery is just a little bit different. So it's a little bit different. There's something that I feel like was there originally, and it's not really there anymore. But you guys remember looking at that original church. Well, check this one out. See, I love the look of everything. Everything looks so good. They did an incredible with it. These headstones, they all look amazing. Amazingly detailed. There's still a pond over here. Actually, that might not be a pond. It might just be kind of flooded right there because there's some more headstones. Like under the water. That's interesting. There's something about this right here, and I appreciate how they did that, because it means they were kind of thinking about something else that we're going to come up on later on in the game. It's kind of interesting how he'll actually go up in the water too. You can't do that in the original game. But this kind of looks like a swamp, right? Well, just remember that. Yeah, we will conclude part 1 of the Silent Hill 2 project here. And I will get back with you guys in part 2, where we will continue onward into the town. We're going to go back to the original game and pick up where we left off in the original game. This is literally the same place I was standing at in the original game when I ended the video. So thanks guys for watching. If you're enjoying this, please leave a comment and please like, maybe even subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to work really hard to make this as interesting as I can. And if you guys are as into Silent Hill as I am, I hope you'll enjoy this, because I'm really going to break things down and get into some deep conversation about a lot of this stuff. All right, so I will see you guys again later.